All right, ready to dive in today. We're tackling something a lot of you are probably super curious about, learning English. We're checking out how to learn English in 8 easy steps. Yeah, straight from the New York Times.
8 easy steps, huh?
Well, that's what they said. Though between you and me, I saw easy and thought, easy, with over 750,000 words in the English language. Kind of like saying climbing Mount Everest is a cakewalk, you know?
Yeah, I see what you mean. But that's actually where this article gets good, I think. It takes this huge thing, right, learning a whole language, and makes it into these doable steps you can actually, use.
Yes, exactly. And that's huge because, honestly, who among us hasn't said, I want to be fluent, and then what? It's like, where do you even start? The article's big on something I totally believe in, setting FUN goals, not just vague ones.
It's like that saying, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Except, aim for something you're stoked about, not just some general idea.
Right, like the article uses this example. Imagine watching your favorite foreign film, no subtitles, and you just get it. The humor, everything, not just the basic plot. The first time I did that, it blew my mind.
You're tapping into something bigger, yeah. The article talks about traveling abroad, not just ordering a coffee, but having a real conversation with someone. That's different, right?
Totally. That's where the real learning kicks in. But before we even get to speaking, there's this part about reading, which I know might sound kind of basic.
Like back to textbooks.
Right. But they're not saying to just slog through Dickens. They're talking about reading all kinds of stuff in English.
Totally. I love how they put it like you're breaking a code when you're figuring out song lyrics.
Okay, that does sound more fun than my old English textbook. It's like I've got my detective hat on, figuring out the slang, the rhymes.
You're training your ear even when you're reading. Think about how different online chat is from, a legal document. They each have their own sound.
That's such a good way to put it. And it makes me think about how even traveling within a country, English can sound totally different depending on where you are.
Oh, for sure. The article gets into that later, how important different accents are. I mean, it's the real world, right?
Exactly. That's where the magic happens. They actually call speaking practice rocket fuel for learning. Is that how you'd put it?
100%. I remember when I was learning.
So this conversation you were talking about, the one that kind of flipped a switch for you with English, what happened?
Oh, man. It was with these native English speakers.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous at first, totally freaking out. But I was trying to speak, laughing at my own mistakes, and suddenly, it was like my brain just clicked. I started thinking in English, not translating everything in my head anymore.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like you're riding a bike with training wheels, then bam, they're gone, and you're just riding. Free.
Exactly. And get this, the article talks about this too. It says that when you have those real-time conversations, your brain is forced to make these connections. Way stronger than memorizing stuff.
Makes sense. When you're trying to keep up with a fast conversation, your brain's working overtime. It's like a workout, but for your English.
Totally. And speaking of workouts, the article had this point that surprised me. It said that writing, even if you're focused on speaking, can help a ton.
Ooh, yeah, that one got me too. I always thought of writing as this whole separate thing, more formal, Like speaking's the fun, messy cousin, and writing's all buttoned up.
Right. But think of it like this. When you write, you have to slow down. Think about each word, the grammar. It's like you're hitting pause on a live performance to analyze every night.
Love that analogy. You're taking those thoughts bouncing around in your head and making them clear on the page.
Exactly. And the article even says to get creative with different types of writing. Journals, blog posts, even try writing song lyrics.
So cool. Okay, we've got reading, speaking, writing. We're on a roll here. But then the article throws in this curveball. Puzzles. And not just any puzzles, specifically the New York Times crossword.
Which is kind of brilliant. Crosswords make your brain connect the dots. You're not just memorizing words, you're weaving them together, connecting ideas, and having fun while you're at it.
Right. It's like sneaking veggies into a smoothie. You get all the good stuff without it feeling like a chore. And the article points out, thinking in English, that's the sign you've really got it.
Totally. When you stop translating in your head and just react in English, it's such a freeing feeling.
It's funny, we get so caught up in the how of learning English, the grammar, the words, that we forget about that moment when it just clicks.
And it's not a foreign language anymore, yeah.
Yes, and the article's like, hey, remember, it's not always a straight lineup. You'll hit walls, you'll doubt yourself. I've had total meltdowns trying to make myself understood.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember this one time, I was trying to navigate a street market in Thailand, and my Thai was bad. Google Translate became my best friend that day, let me tell you.
But those moments, right?
Yeah.
That's where the real learning happens.
Totally. It's like the article says, splendid failures. You have to adapt, get creative.
You're not stuck in your head anymore. You're just trying to communicate.
Exactly. And sometimes it's about being okay with the awkwardness, laughing at yourself. Because when you connect with someone in their language, there's nothing like it.
Totally agree. And this is where the article's last point really hit home for me. Being around English as much as possible is key.
Immersion, right. Like you can't learn to swim from a textbook.
Exactly. Now, not everyone can just move to an English-speaking country tomorrow.
More's the pity.
Right. But the article says to find ways to make your own immersion, even if it's just your living room.
Love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the big takeaway is it's not about being perfect. It's about enjoying the ride, yeah. Using this awesome language to connect, to explore.
Beautifully said. And if you only remember one thing, don't be afraid to be a beginner. Celebrate the little wins, moments,
Yes.
and never stop exploring this wild world of English.
Now, one last thing to think about. The article talks about how regional accents make English so rich. So your challenge, should you choose to accept it. This week, try to spot 3 different English accents. Pay attention to how people say things. It's like a game, but for your ears. You never know what you'll discover.